Sunday. I am Dr. Malea Jensen. Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. This is a live stream I do every Saturday and Sunday. So I will wait for people to get on board here and we will go from there. Let me see here. Okay, we will wait for everybody here. Where are you listening from? What city, what state, what country? Thank you, Z Love. Love to you as well. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, Rich. Thank you. All right, you guys, this is your opportunity. We're kind of waiting for YouTubers to get started. If you guys do not know who I am Dr. Malea Jensen. I am located in Iowa. I'm family practice. I've been in practice for 27 years, little over 27 now. And I've recently transitioned from a physical clinic to an online consultation business only. There's reasons for that. Actually, in my 27 years of practice, 14 of those included being on my own. So I have owned my own practice for 14 years called Center Stage Primary Care. With that being said, my specialty is family practice. I am not a metabolic specialist. I have listened to numerous podcasts, read numerous books, continue to listen to podcasts, continue to read books on metabolic health. And that has been a journey of mine for the last 4 years. It was a subject that I'm very passionate about. In the past, however, I did not use it in order to help people as much as it could. And now I've opened my eyes and see that we need to make a difference in people's life. And I was not doing that to the best of my ability. And that's why I have transitioned over to a practice where I'm completely online. Angel, thank you for being here. Unique, thank you. I appreciate it. Where am I from? I am from the United States. I am in Iowa. Where are you guys listening from? Looks like Wakanda Republic is listening over on YouTube. I am live on YouTube and Instagram. My goals for my live streams are that I want you to be able to ask questions, ask curious questions. Asking questions is important to open up your curiosity. I want to build trust in you, and I want to open up lively engagement and facilitate discussions. With that being said, the live stream that I have is for all of us to learn together. I think that's important. I think it's important that we're able to, good morning, Brian. Good morning, Lucy. I think it's important for us to learn. I think it's important to present different ideas and different views to expand our experiences. And sometimes that can be, oh, thank you, Lucy. I appreciate that. I did not get a chance to do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to thank my Blue Wrenchers and my and the moderators over on YouTube. It really helps. So I think it's important to present different ideas and different viewpoints to expand our experiences, because sometimes that is difficult. It's hard to hear. And I know this from experience because up until about 4 years ago, I practiced medicine like a modern doctor, where you make a diagnosis and you basically treat that person with what medicine seems accurate according to guidelines. I want you to feel that if you have ideas that are different than mine, that you can present them without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling condemned. I don't want to do that to you. This is a journey that I want to do with you guys together. I'm still learning. I do not know it all. And I want to share with you guys what I'm learning. I am going to present to you things that go way against your experiences of the past. And so instead of us getting angry or shut down or become silent, we need to bring those to the surface and talk about them openly with good engagement. I don't like to be called names. I don't like to be told that, like yesterday, there was a comment from a listener who called me a narcissist. Now, the person who used that name, I hope you're listening right now, the person who used that word must know a thing or two about that word. But if they did know that the description of that word, they would know that a person who has that does not have any empathy, have the ability to self-reflect, does not have compassion. And I want to tell you that that comment hurt me. I let it go, but it hurt. It hit me like a, oof, okay? Because that is not something that I want to present to you guys. I am passionate about what I do, yes. But the fact that I don't want to hurt any of you and I want to share information with you is the exact opposite of what the definition of a narcissist is. I am well versed on narcissism, and there are people who can show traits as a mechanism of survival, and I have seen that before, but that does not make them a narcissist. So I hope that if you said that you're listening right now and you can see or think about what I have said. And before we go and accuse people or say something that is hurtful, we think it through. Okay. Mistakes are going to be made. Things are going to be said and mistakes are going to be made, but that is how we grow. Like I said, this is a journey. Ultimately, you guys are the experts on your body, and you know what resonates for you, and you know why. Brian, I know not to pay attention to the keyboard warriors. I know that, but I also need to work on myself in my ability to get to why they might feel that way. Because in the long run, it could help me present my topics better. So I want to use it as a learning example instead of simply ignoring them. I know at times, Brian, that we need to have boundaries and not let people like that affect us. But at the same time, we also need to verify whether or not they have actually hurt or hurts over, deep down inside as well. And so the fact that they bring something up might actually be something that was said by me that was a trigger. And if I could get them to open up and explain why or what I said might have triggered them, it could be helpful. Okay. Read the comment. Okay. Stuart says, it sounds to me that you just love to hear yourself talk. That's one of the symptoms of narcissism. So, Stuart, expand on that. I would like to hear it. It sounds like something I have said already this morning has triggered you. And if that is the case, let's talk about it, because I'm setting some groundwork here. And I hope that you will understand, because there's a lot of people that are listening right now that truly want to learn. They want to learn about medical conditions. Do I have a psychology background? I have a family practice background. Part of it is involved with psychology, but I am not a specialist in psychology. I don't have a specialty in psychiatry. Oh, Stuart, if you are not triggered but just laughing, that's okay. You're I'm not responsible for your emotions. If you're having trouble with your emotions, Stuart, my suggestion is maybe go somewhere else. And because it sounds like if you're laughing about something, then that is being triggered. That is an emotion that I'm not responsible for. I can't make you laugh. I can't make you sad. You make yourself do those things. So, all right. So with that being said, and we kind of set some groundwork, we'll go, we'll answer questions. All right. I'm reviewing. Make sure I didn't miss any questions. All right. Unique, you're welcome to ask a question if you have one. We're here listening. There was a question that came up. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Stuart. Thank you. Have a great day. So Stuart left us. Forever Cowgirl, you are so awesome, Dr. J, professional and classy. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. You know, yesterday when we were closing up, and I don't know if this person is listening as well. Izzy, Ken, I didn't know that. And that, I guess I could understand why that could be the case. It is difficult to hear different points of view. And yeah, that's why we're here, is to get different points of view and to learn new experiences. I do appreciate the challenges from yesterday. They were complicated, and I'm noticing that I am tempted to, yes, Brian, I am tempted to shut it down when somebody like that says something to me. But, you know, as I pause and I think about it, I need you guys to bear with me as I stay open to these comments and not react, because that is a normal human tendency, is to react. But yesterday, there was a comment at the end from someone, and I don't know if they're listening today. Greetings from Istanbul. Thank you for being here. A question that came up yesterday was, at the end, said that the advice I was giving was bad advice, telling people to avoid carbohydrates. And I don't think they got the full context. And I want to just expand on that if you're listening. I've been practicing for 27 years, and I've seen a lot of sick people. And there's a common denominator. And the common denominator is excess carbohydrates as a foundation of common denominators. Of course, I know that there are other lifestyle habits that can cause or lead to or contribute to chronic diseases, like lack of sleep or overstress or, no exercise. These are some of the things that we all know, but the food concept is very strong, 75% sometimes. And so I don't think it's bad advice when I see a common denominator of my diabetics, my heart disease patients, my cognitive decline patients, my hypertension patients, my asthma patients, my kidney failure patients. When that common denominator is as strong as it is, and it relates back to our diets, high in carbohydrates, high in processed foods, high in ultra processed foods, high in fruit, I feel that it is necessary to bring that to light. When that person gets rid of carbohydrates, it appears that they start healing their chronic diseases. And I think Brian would agree. I think Aura would agree, who's listening right now, and they've seen it in their practice as well. It's not just something we're making up. I agree, Johnny, that we are all different, and what's good for someone might not be good for others. And that's why ultimately we are all the experts on our own body. There are people who listen and they don't have chronic diseases. They are able to tolerate carbohydrates. But the people I'm talking to are the ones that have chronic diseases, okay? And they are suffering. Some people don't know they have chronic diseases. And when they get labs and they bring them to me, I bring them out to them. I bring these facts out to them. Like, look here. Look at what is going on. I try to catch things before they are occurring. You don't know they're occurring. Your doctor's never brought that up. And if I find a common denominator, I'm gonna make it apparent to you, okay? You can do whatever you would like to do with that information. Ora says, 100% the healing journey might differ, but the results tend to be identical in the end. I agree. You know, drugs, she's saying that drugs don't cause the problem and they won't be the solution either. And I agree with that. There is a time and a place where medications may be needed. But I think that in modern American medicine, it has become the go-to. We are, as doctors or providers, are not giving all of the information, and we see people going to the coaches, the health coaches, the naturopaths, the everybody but the modern MD and the modern DO. And that is telling. It's telling that people are fed up with the lack of information that they are getting from their physician. They don't even know what their diagnoses are. They don't know what their medications are for. They just take them without even asking questions. And I find this very disturbing. We need to have informed consent, and we're not getting it. The patients are not getting informed consent. And that's why people in general are gravitating toward social media influencers. The social media influencers could be just as educated as a doctor, okay? Nothing about my education, as you guys know, makes me any more special, except for I paid $200,000 for it in the very end of all of my education. That's what makes us a little bit different, okay? But by reading books, by self-learning, by really digging in deep, a social media influencer could be just as intelligent, if not more so, than your modern day doctor. And so I used to be offended by such influencers because I said, what do they know? I'm the one that went to school. Well, that is my ego talking. And now that I'm out of that, I start thinking about the last 4 years and my journey in educating myself. And it's almost embarrassing how much I didn't know, how much I just stuck with a recipe and treated people like I was taught. I mean, really anybody can do that. If you have guidelines in front of you, you know exactly what to do. It doesn't take any stretch of the imagination or really any special education to be able to do that. If you have a recipe in front of you, you just follow the directions. Ora says, yes, in America, especially the first course of action when we have a problem is what can I buy to fix this? And we have to be very careful, Ora, with social media influencers as well, because they know that you, in general, people who are listening have a tendency to lean towards somebody who's saying something that they're attracted to. They're saying all the right things, and therefore they can sell them all the right things. So we have to be very careful on who we're listening to and what they're trying to sell us. So we don't have any discernment until until basically we start learning ourselves. So it's going to take some self-education. And then it is solidified by people we listen to online. Okay? So if you guys have a question over on YouTube, instead of just comments, I would be happy to answer your questions. Put a Q in front of it or a QQQ so I can easily spot it. But if you've had a question and I didn't see it, please restate it again. If you want your question answered expediently, I would be happy to answer that. Just put it in a super chat and those will get answered first. Lucy says, chemo has caused kidney failure. My GFR is 15. I'm slowly crawling back. I enjoy your uplifting voice. You care. Lucy, I do care. I am sorry that you are going through this, but I believe this, Lucy, about your situation. I believe you have acute kidney care with a GFR of 15 and a normal being over 90. I believe when everything is said and done, and if you can maintain your current function, it will come back. It will come back, but it doesn't mean going to things that can worsen your kidney function, like an inflammatory diet, a lack of sleep, too much stress, not enough outdoor nature, not enough grounding, not enough being around people who are positive influence on you. Okay? Lucy, you can make an improvement. Just give it time. And don't let your, or even me, scare you, fear you into thinking your kidney condition cannot come back. Step one, your body is very good at recuperating, okay? You've dealt it some harsh chemicals through chemo for your cancer, but it will come back, okay? It will come back. Be nice to yourself, and it will come back. And you'll come back, and you'll tell us all about it. I know you will. Brian says, I believe most doctors are using ChatGPT to diagnose and prescribe. I would tell you, in a way, Brian, I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because they don't have time. They don't have time to use ChatGPT. They're seeing so many patients that it would be impossible for them to use ChatGPT to make a diagnosis. Now, they can use it after the fact. Now, all of our EMR, our electronic medical records, have a feature now that have some sort of AI, like a ChatGPT or whatever the AI they're using. It is incorporated now into the EMR, the electronic medical records. So we can use an AI that is incorporated, and usually have to pay more for that, or the service is another expense. But it will actually do the progress note for you. It will do the whole progress note. It will give you the diagnoses that it thinks, and then it will give the treatment protocol that it thinks. Now, it is up to the doctor to review that and say, yay or nay, I agree or I disagree, but I don't know how much of that is happening. So, Brian, it's a great point, but if you think that I'm looking, or not me, a doctor is in the process of looking stuff up while we're trying to make a diagnosis and prescribe, I think in real time, that is not happening. In after time, after the visit, it could be happening, okay? But again, the doctor is likely moving on to the next patient before they even have a thought process of what you're actually giving them too much credit, Brian, to be perfectly honest, okay? They're basically just going on previous menus, previous recipes, and using the exact same technique on every single patient. What I have seen, there's little or no individuality. They're not looking into the patient's diet, their lifestyle, what's going on at home, what's going on at work, what's their stress, what's their exercise, are they getting outside and getting sun, are they under LED lights all the time? There's a lot of things that not even I had time for, and I was maybe max seeing 15 patients a day in the last 13 years of my practice. Even when I'm seeing just 15 patients a day for the last 13 years, I didn't have time to use ChatGPT in real time. So you're actually giving me way too much credit too, all right? I did not have, in my EMR, I did not have AI incorporated. It was a year ago, it was just coming on the scene. Now it's very prevalent. It's very, very prevalent, okay? So great point. I just want you and others to know what is really going on, because you're not in the doctor's office knowing like a mouse in the corner. And I can only tell you from my experience being in corporate medicine, working for a big clinic, and then the last 13 years just working for myself, being the only solo doctor. And that's the difference, okay? And you might have talked to many other doctors and they could have told you something different. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but thank you for even bringing that up, Brian. I appreciate it. I didn't see, Brian, I did not see your question about ALS. If you have another question, you're very welcome, Lucy. What have you heard or read is your intuition on healing schizophrenia via carnivore diet, Doc? Or that is a great question. I personally do not have any schizophrenic patients. I have had bipolar patients. Joe, please repeat your question if I don't get to it. I see that it popped up, but I have another question I want to get to first. But if you think about the brain, any brain disorders, whether it be bipolar, just simple depression, anxiety, ADHD, PTSD, schizophrenia, dementia, all of them are a neurodegeneration, and every neuron, every cell in our body, including brain cells, are affected by sugar, are affected by heavy metals, by nanoplastics, by smoking, by alcohol, all of them. And so I have seen people's depression, bipolar, dementia improve if they are consistent on a carnivore diet. The minute they lose consistency and go back or falter or fall off the wagon, their symptoms return. I can't speak specifically to schizophrenia because I've never seen it in real life. I mean, I did when I was a resident, but that was 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, we didn't know as much about keto or ketogenic diets. Although I will tell you that some of the studies that were on epilepsy were done that many years ago. And that was the treatment back then, until medicines came on board and we forget the diet because you know what? It's so much easier just to give a pill, right? And that's what we don't want to do, but we don't have time to use our noggins, okay? And that's unfortunate. Brian says, fair enough, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe you're right. Don't say that, but thank you for a great answer. You're very welcome. You know, I don't want to tell you you're wrong. You could have spoke to many doctors and they could have given you their heartfelt information as well. It's just from my own perspective, okay? But I think we're both on the same idea that, yeah, it is a problem. The AI can be a problem, but it also can be a real good thing if the doctor is not very bright, okay? If the doctor is sitting in a condition of ignorosis, having AI might be in your best interest as a patient. Just saying, okay? Lucy says to other Lucy, hang in there, darling. I will have you in my prayers. I think anybody who is a prayer warrior and listening to Chat with Lucy's situation, that if you have it in you, please say a prayer for Chat with Lucy. We would all appreciate it. Okay. Joe says, do you have any tips for overcoming cravings for carbs to help clients start their low carb journey? That is a great question. Thank you for asking it. One, if it sounds like you're a coach. That's what or a coach or a doctor, or it's in the healthcare field, whatever you're wanting to help clients. And their addictions run very, very deep. And I know that and I'm not either, we're not psychologists, but their cravings stem from something very, very deep. It's not just, hey, it's a drug and they're addicted, okay? They are addicted. It is a drug. I'm not dismissing that, but something deeper. Why is the carb their drug of choice? Why is heroin their drug of choice? Why is smoking their drug of choice? Alcohol, fancy cars, fancy shoes, whatever the addiction is, we have to ask why. Once we start opening up the why, well, I like them. Why do you like them? Well, I like them because blah, blah, blah. I like them because of the texture. What is it about the texture that you like? Thank you, Joe. Thank you for praying. I appreciate that. Lucy, Joe is praying for you over there with the kidney and the chemo and the cancer, and we're all praying for you. I believe that if we ask enough why questions, we will get to the problem or the concern that is underlying why the person is having a craving in the first place, okay? We can't deny the fact that carbohydrates made in a lab that are processed and ultra processed, which is most all carbohydrates now, they've all been processed. Everything is genetically modified, even your vegetable and even your fruit. It's all genetically modified. It's been engineered to get you to enjoy the texture, to enjoy the succulent seduction of the color, the taste, the sweetness, the saltiness, the this, the that. And it's easy for me, Joe, to just say, you know what, have them go cold turkey, because that's what works for me. Well, I don't particularly have an addiction to carbohydrates. I might have an addiction to something else. And then I would ask myself, why? Why do you have addiction to that? And then I would answer myself, and then I would ask why. And I would go deeper and deeper and deeper until I get to the most inner hurt part of my being. And that is why. It had nothing to do with the actual addiction. But yet people, global flavorists or people who make these foods know exactly how to get to you, okay? They know how to get to what matters to you. And right now, that food for your client, Joe, is the only comfort they have in life, because everything else is some sort of inner hurt or inner trauma that has caused their addiction. And until they come clean with it, you can't answer those questions for them. And so to you, they're just a client, not just a client, but they're your client, and you want to help them so bad. And you're working on surface level saying, if you just stop the carbs, and I agree, if you gave it even 1 week without a carb, your addiction, the dopamine hit will go away. You delightfully should tell them that if you go no contact with your addiction, the craving will go away because there's no dopamine hit. For a person who is using carbs and you say, oh, just go a little bit, like an alcoholic, if you just say, just do it a little bit, just back off. It doesn't take much to hit their dopamine hit, and then they will crave more and more and more. So telling a person, just do it in moderation or just balance, they have no moderation and no balance. They have no ability to self-reflect. They have no ability to have a boundary internally or externally with their craving. So I know you're not, or I don't know, but your client has deeper things going on, okay? And you need to find out what that trauma is. Try Fitness says you're on point, IronLadyDoc. Addiction of many kinds. It all keeps us trapped in unhealthy cycles. It is some sort of trauma bond going on. I don't know how long you've had it. I don't know if it stems from whatever it stems from. That person needs to get down deep with themselves. And that is scary. It is scary to admit that you might have something deep that is encouraging you to do the things that you do. Okay? It is a protective mechanism. It is a survival instinct. And the people that you're discussing are using food as their comfort. They're not addicted to steak because there's no or rare or low amounts of sugar in it that trigger our brain to hit that dopamine. Steak does not do it. Eggs do not do it. I've had patients tell me that I tell them that they eat one egg. I said, what did you eat with the one, or why didn't you eat 5 eggs? Well, I got full. I said, 5 eggs filled you up? And they said, yes. And I said, what did you eat with it? Oh, I had a piece of fruit and some toast. And I want to, I explained to them that the eggs was not what they're addicted to. If they were full, why did they go for more fruit? Why did they eat more bread? The eggs did not fill them up, okay? And if it did, it would have been on their own because eggs have natural fats and proteins that cause satiety, whereas fake fruit, fake carbs do not. Okay? All right. Oris says, I'm reading a book from 1864 right now regarding healing via carnivore adjacent diet. It's all about the money in the end. You're a gem, doc. Thank you so much for everything you do. I admire you. Well, thank you. I appreciate your kind words. That's very kind. Oh, yeah, Lucy, what is the name of the book? I'd agree. What is the name of the book? 1864? I might have trouble reading it, but I will do my best. Okay, the name of the book is Obesity or Excessive Corpulence, the Various Causes and Irrational Means of Cure. By J.F. Dansel, is that the name? Okay. My question from Brian is, what do you think that carnivore could be the answer to ALS due to the fact that myelin sheath requiring cholesterol? Very good question. Any type of neurological disorder is being attacked by what we consume diet-wise, heavy metal-wise, bad water-wise, lack of sun-wise. All of the lifestyle things that I'm talking about can help, can encourage, can contribute to demyelination. Anytime there is oxidation of cells from heavy metals like iron or glycation like sugar onto proteins, but if we are to limit our intake of fats and proteins, we are going to cause problems with our nervous system. We are going to cause problems with our heart, our brain. Our nervous system requires cholesterol, requires fat. And before the new food pyramid came out, okay, before that new food pyramid came out, we tended to be told that a low-fat diet was in our best interest. And I believe that has contributed to all of the neurological problems that are occurring today, more so than any other thing. Although I could speak to iron overload as a humongous cause, in addition to insulin resistance. But when we take fat out of our diet, we're going to replace it with something else. And they wanted us to. They told us to eat that bottom of the pyramid, which is full of grains and fruits, the very things that have caused our chronic conditions. So is ALS from having a myelin sheath that has basically been destroyed? And I explain this simplistically, Brian, as the cord that goes from your lamp to the outlet. That black or brown or whatever color cord covering you have is the myelin sheath. If you don't have the myelin sheath, your conduction, that bare wire, the nerve, is exposed. Without that coating that we need to protect every cell in our body, cholesterol and fat, that makes that myelin sheath, once it's destroyed, that myelin sheath may or may not reform. I don't know. I think the person you could be asking that question to that I find could be helpful, Brian, would be Dr. Chafee. He's done more on that research than I have seen in my research, okay? And so my tendency is to believe that if we were to, I bend everything back to the gospel, And I believe that our body can truly heal itself. And so if we were to take away the very things that are causing destruction of our myelin sheath, that coating of the nerves, by decreasing carbohydrates and increasing our fats, almost a 2-to-1, if not even a 3-to-1 ratio of fat to protein, we may have a thing here, right, Brian? You wouldn't be wrong in suggesting that to your clients. How about that? Oh, everybody's praying for Lucy. Chat with Lucy. Thank you. Lance says, I don't think you spelled it wrong, but retatrutide, if that's the correct spelling, I apologize. But basically, that's a GLP. And they're saying that it removed all the cravings for sugar carbs. Okay. But you took a medication in order to do that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you took a medication to get rid of the cravings. But do you know why you have the cravings? Your cravings, by using the GLP, only treated a surface level. If I take the GLP away, I can almost guarantee I'm not going to say it's for sure. I can speculate that your cravings will come back because you've never gotten to the core of your cravings, Lance. Again, I believe that there's a time and a place for medications. I'm not saying that what you have done is wrong. But if you don't dive deep with therapy, with your own inner self-reflection to find out why you have these cravings for sugar and carbs, which is a carb, carbs are sugar. Sugar, carbs, sugar, you have a craving for sugar. Why? Simply taking a medicine, you're not deficient in retaglutide or whatever the name of it is. You weren't born with that deficiency. But what you have developed are inner traumas that have encouraged you to turn to something that you're addicted to as your survival mechanism. So Lance, I would encourage you to look deeper, self-reflect, and try, please, because you're going to be tethered to a medication for the rest of your life in order to curb your cravings for something that you're using as a survival mechanism for something that you can't define or don't want to define. And I that's just my thoughts on it, okay? Yeah, Try Fitness. I don't remember that cooking oil with the McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's. I don't remember what went on with that. Those fast food joints, I never paid much attention to because no matter what oil they use, I would probably, I know I would. I haven't visited one of those places for a long, long time. But they know, Try Fitness, I think what you're trying to get at is big food or food global flavorists know what attracts people to certain things. And if it's an oil, they'll use it. If it's a texture, they'll use it. If it's a salt, they'll use it. If it's a sugar, they'll use it. They'll use all kinds of combinations to get people addicted and keep you coming back. That is their production line, okay? And so that doesn't surprise me. Joe says, thank you. Great thoughts. I have a couple clients that are obese and really stuck. I know it's difficult. I would say, honestly, if I was being honest with myself, the obesity is a spectrum, right? From not just a BMI of 30 and above, but even 27 to 29 is a form of being overweight. So I could honestly say that 70 to 75% of my entire population is overweight or obese. And it's a difficult concept because they actually know they are. I mean, it doesn't take much. They could look in the mirror, but it's getting to the inner hurt, that inner trauma and I didn't spend enough time with my patients. I just said, hey, try this, try this, try this, try this. But They could try it all they want. And they might be successful initially. Just like if you went from a standard American diet to a vegan diet, you're going to be successful initially, but you're not going to be likely not going to be able to maintain it. Not even if a carnivore has significant trauma, they might not be able to withstand it either. There has to be something much more painful. Remember when I told you or taught you about that people tend to veer or to be attracted toward easy and not painful. They will steer clear from anything that is hard or painful. So their chronic disease, Joe, or their chronic obesity, or their chronic inability to put their own shoes on has to be more painful than the less painful, which is easier. Does that make sense? In order for that person to change, they have to want it. They have to figure out the inner trauma, and they have to find out that whatever they're going through right now is actually more painful, so they move away from it than the thing they thought was painful in the very beginning, like going to no carb diet or a less carb diet or whatever. They have to be on board with changing themselves. And your clients may not be there yet. They could speak it, they can lip service, but deep down inside, they find it very, very difficult, and they tend toward easy. Plus, you mix in the craving, the addiction that the global flavorists did to them, and they can't turn back, okay? It is a difficult, but this person, these clients, my patients, don't just need Dr. Jensen, don't just need Joe as a coach. They need deep, intense therapy, deep, intense therapy. You're welcome, Brian. It is a strong suggestion, and it is all these things are worth exploring. We're just talking here, and I'm curious where you guys are at, because open engagement, okay? Just open engagement. User, Jesus loves you. I know he does, and he loves you as well. John says, can you recommend a diet or foods I should start before chemo? I tried to ask my chemo doc in my first visit last week. He just said, live my life. Well, living your life is maybe what encouraged your cancer to start, okay? So if you think, if you're hearing something here today that is triggering you, and maybe it's high carbs, high processed food, high ultra processed food, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever it is, if that has triggered you to think, yeah, that is my life, that alcohol has been in my life, that no sleep has been in my life, that stress has been in my life, that going outside has not been in my life, all of these things, maybe, John, you reverse it. Just do a 180-degree flip and go the opposite direction and say, hey, if all of the things I have been doing got me to the point where I've acquired cancer, and I know there's somebody out there, I'm going to trigger them right now, and they'll say, it's genetic. Well, that could well be. But epigenetics tells me that what we do feeds these things. What if everyone is born with cancer? And all it takes is for us to feed it. Feed it with stress. Feed it with poor lifestyle changes. Feed it with alcohol and smoking and processed foods and chemicals and over-the-counter supplements and all of these things. I know you don't like to hear that, but what if it's the truth? A tumor is your body's response to walling off whatever crap is going on in your body. I believe that. You might not believe that. I believe that. Now, just because I believe it doesn't make it true, doesn't make it truth. I should say truth. But the more and more I'm learning, the more and more I can confidently say that a tumor is a walling off of bad toxins. And the minute we go in and poke it like a sleeping bear and eject its contents, we had something strong that we could have maybe starved, maybe we starve the tumor. Instead of it growing big and big and big, we don't poke it with sleeping bear. We don't chemo it. We don't try to snatch it out of our body. I don't know. These are just things I'm thinking through. What would I do? I know for a fact I would remove food from that tumor. I would starve it. No longer would I allow it to live rent-free. If that means cycling glutamine in and out, if that means getting rid of heavy metals like iron that's trapped in my body, does it mean getting rid of carbohydrates because I know that cancers love to eat sugar? I'm getting them gone. In fact, I'm going to get them gone now before I even know I got a tumor. That is me about prevention. I don't want these things. I want to live as pain-free as I possibly can from here until God comes to get me, that Jesus takes me home. That's what I want. But what I want and what you want might be totally different. John, you already got the thing, okay? What can you do now? Starve it. Starve it. Maybe that starvation looks like not eating. Maybe it looks like fasting. If you have, and you have to be honest with yourself, if you have fat on your body, you could go a long time with those nutrients already on your body. That fat, those fatty acids will break down into ketones, and the ketones can be used as an energy source. Again, this is not medical advice, you guys. This is not, I'm just talking through things that you go, I'm just getting you to use your brain. It may or may not be right. I'm just starting to get you to think about something opposite of you go to the oncologist, they don't talk to you and say, live your life, and they give you the poison, which the lady has to basically put on a hazmat suit to give to you. That doesn't bode well, right? Okay? That's just going, if the nurses are afraid of being exposed to it, they're putting it right through my vein into my body. I mean, is that what we really want? But you might think to yourself, but if I let it go, I'm going to die. In reality, John, you're going to die. We all are. It's just how quickly and what your timeline says. I know that God has my timeline written in stone, but I can affect that timeline by what I do or don't do. And if I go drink myself to death, yes, God probably already knew that was going to happen. He probably tried to steer me away from it, but I didn't accept the steering. I didn't accept the counselor in me, the Holy Spirit. Maybe I didn't even have the Holy Spirit in me, and that's what led me astray. I don't know the answers to these things. I really don't. It's just stuff that goes through my head. But I know it's an expanded answer of your question. It sounds so simplistic. What would I do? If you have enough fat on your body, you could consider starving it to death, fasting. I wouldn't feed it sugars. Despite what the person said yesterday, that I was giving bad advice regarding carbohydrates, I do not believe it's bad advice. The reason why I do not believe it's bad advice is that carbohydrates are not essential. You could absolutely live the rest of your life and never eat carbohydrates again. There is nothing essential about that. Until you get that in your head, you're going to think of giving bad advice. There are essential fats and there are essential amino acids. You absolutely desperately need, or you will die. That's why they call them vital. That's why they call vital nutrients. But there are no vital nutrients about carbohydrates. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Try to name one, and I will tell you why that's not the case. Because you can get everything you need in eating animals. You really can, because if it is not a plant, it's an animal. And all plants are carbohydrates. I mean, let's just get down to basics here, right? So if you either eating plants and animals or one or the other, you can't, how do I say this? The most nutritionally dense food on this earth is an animal. And if you eat their meat, which is their muscle, and you eat their heart and their kidneys and their liver, the two main ones I would say are liver and kidneys. if you eat them and you dabble in, if you want to dabble in fatty fish like salmon and sardines and all of that, go for it. I do. I'm dabbling. It's not my main course. I might have it on as a side. But I'm going to eat fatty meat, I'm going to eat eggs, and I'm going to eat the components of those animals. I eat liver. I haven't tried kidney. I've tried heart. I haven't tried kidney. I don't mind them. Okay? So until we get it in our head that there's absolutely nothing essential and we will not die without carbohydrates, that's the fear that people have is, they will say, oh, I've been carnivore and I feel like my body needs carbohydrates. It absolutely doesn't. It might need something you're not giving it, like liver, okay, and organ meat, but it doesn't need carbohydrates. That is your scarred, traumatized person inside you lying to you because you don't need them. You crave them. But the thing that gave you, the reason why you went carnivore in the first place is you likely had something going on, a chronic disease. And the chronic disease goes away and you say, maybe I need carbs again. Well, that was the very thing that caused the problem. And then you'll say, but I need balance. Why? And define balance. I want you to define balance to me. Okay? Okay. Brian says, holy crap, fast for 10 days and try the lion diet. Yeah, maybe that would help. It's being proven that cutting off sugar starves it. I agree. So Brian is trying to answer your question. So he's being very direct. Right. Brian says no carbs needed ever. So there are people out there who are living lifestyles. And yesterday we had somebody on, I don't know if they're on right now, but they are on, he was Uncle Charlie. And Uncle Charlie had lost over, I think 150 pounds and reversed his A1C from 18 down to 5 point something. I can't remember the exact, the exact numbers, but that is a reversal. He went no carb. He went carnivore. It healed probably every single one of his diseases. If there's one still left, it's not from going carnivore, okay? Good morning, Gio. Thanks for being here. Lucy says, can you talk about the acid load of meat? My doctor suggested adding more base to my diet. I'm keto, not fully carnivore, and would love to hear your perspective on this. Lucy, I would ask you a question. What is the normal pH of our gastric contents? First and foremost. And then I would ask yourself, what is it about meat that would make that gastric content more acidic? And then why? And then I would ask yourself, what is the base that they want you to add back in? And then ask yourself, I used to do that base, and that's where it got me in this position in the first place. There is nothing about eating meat that our body can't take care of on its own. But what it cannot take care of is the base that you're thinking about adding in, which is a plant. Now, plants in and of themselves have their own toxins, their own chemicals to defend themselves. It could be a phytate, an oxalate, a tannin, a saponin, all of these things, okay? And when they're in our gastric contents, they decrease the absorption of nutrients that we need, okay? They're decreasing the absorption of the very things we need. Let's name them off, just a few. When we consume a plant and they have phytates or oxalates or some other type of chemical, they will decrease the absorption of amino acids. Amino acids are essential. And if it decreases the absorption of amino acids, then that means that that ribeye steak or that egg that we are consuming, we are not getting the full benefit of it. It decreases the absorption of amino acids. It decreases the absorption, I'm talking plants, decrease the absorption of B vitamins, including B12, B1, B6, B whatever, B3, okay? They decrease the absorption, plants do, of calcium, magnesium, selenium, zinc, iron, anything with a positive charge. It's decreasing the absorption. Just to make your stomach contents more basic, then simply drinking basic water would have helped, would it not? So are we talking about the basicness of our stomach contents, or are we talking about our blood acidity, pH? Because they're totally different. If it really worked, you could actually drink basic water and it would change the pH of your body. So you first have to ask, doctor, can you make some, I just need some definitions. I need you to define some things. Define acid and base. Define the acidity of my stomach. Define and have them defend why they would put somebody on a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor like Prilosec, that changes the stomach contents to basic. That means, so if our stomach contents, just to answer my own question for you, the stomach contents should be between 1 and 3 on a pH scale, normal pH. If we were to give a PPI, we might make it 4 or 4.5. If we change the acidity, it's like giving the finger to God and saying he must have made a mistake. In order to extract nutrients out of our body, we got to have a basic content. That's a lie, because once it becomes basic, guess what? We can't absorb all of the vital nutrients we need, like amino acids, like B vitamins, like calcium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, all of them. So just by changing the pH or having somebody, tell you, oh, you can't just eat meat, then that's a lie. Okay? Because you can, and they have, and Brian confirms that with his own opinion over on Instagram by saying, nope, the pH of a hunter-gatherer, that means back in the day, with the average pH of their stomach contents was 1.5. And I think that a normal acidity of our stomach is between 1 and 3. Brian also adds that that's close to a vulture, which, what do vultures eat, Brian? Joe says, you and I are on the same page. You guys, hold on. Stop. If you feel me being overboard, I'm going to apologize right now. I am very passionate about this. I want dialogue. I want Lucy to have dialogue with me, okay? I do not mean to have my passion come out so strongly that it's turning you off. I truly want dialogue. I truly want to hear why you feel the way you feel. I happen to know Lucy, so I might have taken that for granted that Lucy knows how I am, my normal disposition. So if you are new here, you don't know my disposition, I'm very conscientious about how I present things, and I don't want to be so over passionate that you feel that you can't ask a question. There are no dumb questions, none. Okay? And I know that I have done most of the talking for the last 64 minutes, and I do apologize. If you do have a question, please put a Q or do a super chat. Help this channel thrive. It's going to thrive no matter what, because I don't give up too easily, but I want it to thrive. But I also am a human, and validation does help me know that, hey, what I'm saying is helping somebody. It does feel good. I mean, I'm only human, okay? So Joe says, you and I are on the same page. How do I have a longer conversation with you? And thank you. Joe, if you would like to have a consultation, I'm willing. Just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate you helping me out with that. I just saw that you already answered their question. Okay, I see a lot of comments, so I am actually going to skip to the end. T-Diz, you know, if that's a question you need to ask, I think you could do it somewhere else. Why don't you DM me if you have that kind of a question? Just direct message me. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Lucy, for clarifying. We have a couple of Lucys on board here as listeners. One is on Instagram, one is on the YouTube. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and wait. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the end. If you guys have a question, please ask it. Oh, thank you, Diamond, for your kind words. I appreciate it. You're very kind. Biggie says, I'm obese and diabetic. I appreciate your live stream advice, and I will try and live a healthier lifestyle, but it's incredibly hard. It kind of goes back, Biggie, it goes to the question about the change and the wanting to change. The key words that ring true when I hear somebody like yourself, and I'm sorry you're going through this, I really am, but that word, try, to me, when I hear the word try, I hear failure already. And I don't want to, but it's a common way of interpreting the word try. It sets us up for failure. And a lot of times, because we don't want to fail, and maybe the way we were brought up, we've been encouraged that if we do fail, we have negative consequences. It's almost better to not put ourselves out there and try, because there's a possibility we could fail. And then if we fail, not only do we get external invalidation about our failure, or validation about our failure, but internally we've been susceptible to our own person inside that has experienced so much failure that they don't want to experience it again. And so you would rather just not go there and possibly have possibly experience failure, because that hurts. And that's hard. And the easiest thing to do is to not do anything. Procrastinate, not do it, not try, because that's easier and more comfortable. And it sets us up for future doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. And the fact that the foods that you tend to go toward is foods that are very addicting. And then what happens is you choose those foods. And then what happens is you get guilt and shame, and you tell yourself you're a failure, and you say, well, it's worthless. I might as well enjoy myself. But that enjoyment lasts very short for a period of time, like a half hour or an hour. And then the cycle starts again with the guilt and the shame and the self-defeat. The internal critic in you calls you a failure. And then by your external look, everybody else says you're a failure. It is tough, Biggie. And again, we all have something. Yours is just out there for us to see. And I'm proud of you for even admitting it, because no one can see you. But in our head, we're picturing an obese diabetic. Okay? We can all picture it. Especially me, who's had the experience of seeing this for 27 years. And my natural instincts of the past would have said, you know what? You have no willpower, or you just can't do it. You're not strong like me, or you're not strong like the person who I just bragged about that they lost 150 pounds and they did carnivore diet. Charlie probably had the exact same conditions you have. And he went out on a limb. He went out on a limb and said, you know what? I might experience failure, but I also might experience success. And we don't know how many times Charlie tried. We don't know if Charlie tried 10 times and failed all 10 times. And then it was the last time where he figured out about his inner trauma. And now he's 150 or 175 pounds down. But Brian, it says it is mental battle first. You need to experience that why moment. I agree. You have to come to grips with, if I don't do something, I will die before I should. And Brian, it's very obvious to you and I, but we have a hard time experiencing or seeing our demise. We see it around us, but we can't experience it ourselves until it's happening. And there's maybe not enough pain for Biggie yet. Biggie hasn't maybe suffered his legs being cut off, his eyes going blind, his kidneys failing, a heart attack, a stroke. Maybe the big pain hasn't hit Biggie yet. So he's hanging on. He's gripping for willpower and for strength, and he's wanting everybody to just tie his hands behind his back, which we could do, Biggie. We could put your hands behind your back. If you're obese, you're likely to make it, I don't know how obese you are, but you're likely to make it months without needing to eat. And we could give you some drink, and we could give you some electrolytes, and you could live off your fat, your own stores of energy with your hands tied behind your back. We could do that. But let's just say we tied your hands behind your back. We got you down to your 5'8" and you're 170 pounds. I don't know. I just made that up. You get down there. And then we untie your hands. What are you going to do? Did you have trauma that got resolved? In that amount of months times that you weren't eating, did you fix the trauma? Did you go to intensive therapy with whatever type of therapist that you need? Not just some general, but maybe a specialized one. Maybe it's someone who's dealing with your inner child parts, okay? But Biggie, we're here for you. And there are communities that are out there that can help you, okay? What is the connection between gum disease and heart disease? It's bacteria. It's plain and simple, it's bacteria. The bacteria that is in your mouth is contrary to a healthy heart. And our diet, what we eat, causes gingivitis. Gum disease is gingivitis. Itis is inflammation of the gingiva, the gums. And that is from something that we are consuming and feeding those bacteria. And you have, of course, poor hygiene. But when those bacteria grow, they also contribute to inflammation all over our body. And our heart is in our body, so it is one of the organs that our brain, we talk about heart disease a lot, but what about brain disease? All from our gums, our dementias, our cognitive decline, our memory losses, our foggy brains. The bacteria in our mouth change according to what we eat. Plain and simple. Also, mouthwashes, antiseptics. Roman asks, why do some foods after being eaten immediately cause reflux? Those particular foods don't, or they okay, maybe I'll explain anatomy first. I went through this yesterday. When we eat, food goes down our esophagus, and then at the bottom of the esophagus is a little door. And when the door opens, the stuff that we eat dumps into the stomach. If certain foods that we consume don't allow that door to close behind it, then the stomach contents that are inside will splash up through that door because the door didn't close. So now we got things that are in the stomach that have been churning and full of acid. It goes to an environment that it's not meant to be. So the end of the esophagus that you're feeling, the reflux, I'm glad you're feeling it because maybe you could avoid eating that particular food, but many people don't feel it. And they're getting reflux all the time, and it can cause cancer, esophageal cancer. Okay? So hopefully that answered your question. But the foods that you are consuming or the drinks that you're consuming, whatever that might be, it could be caffeine, it could be peppermint spearmint, it could be xanthines, it could be spicy foods, it could be a type of carbohydrate, it could be gluten, it could be a number of different things. Okay? I don't know what it is, but a diary would help. And then if you know that's causing reflux, don't eat it. Are supplements a waste of time? Here's how I picture it. If you think you need a supplement, that tells me that your diet is not nutritionally dense. That tells me that what you're eating lacks in nutrients. And I would tell you to change your diet instead of wasting your money on supplements. Make sense? Virginia asks, what about taking Liquigen for someone without a gallon bladder? Virginia, I don't know what Liquigen is, and I don't know what you're referring to about a gallon bladder. Help me out. Diamond, if you don't know how to DM, you can email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com, IronLadyDoc, and we can set up a consultation. James asks, why are men getting prostate problems now in 60s and 80s? Are getting prostate problem now 60s and 80s, no problems? Okay, I don't understand your question, James. Can you please rephrase it? Nada says, acid reflux, lack of bile, probably take bile salts. Or instead of taking bile salts, if you are lacking bile, Nada, okay, just hear me out here. That would tell me that your liver isn't properly functioning. Is it not the liver that makes bile? Why would you simply take bile salts when your liver, the organ that naturally makes bile, is under the weather, meaning sick? So is it something that the previous person was consuming that is causing destruction of the liver, whether it be high iron causing oxidation, high sugars causing glycation, fatty liver from fructose and glycation, all of those things. So I see your point in suggesting that just go take bile salts. Well, that's just like any doctor. Well, you got depression, here's your SSRI. You got hypertension, here's your ACE inhibitor. You got cholesterol problem, here's your statin. You're just giving them the exact same advice. I appreciate that you want to get involved, but I don't think we're thinking this through. Is that person, like Brian said, are they on a low-fat diet? If they're on a low-fat diet, there's nothing that's going to stimulate bile production. Your gallbladder is going to sit there and hold on and hoard the bile, the secretion, because it doesn't need it. So, yes, the liver needs cholesterol. If we're on a statin and we have reflux from all these foods, do we just simply go and take a bile salt? Or do we change our diet? Do we get off our statin? Why do we get off our statin? Not medical advice. Maybe consider a consultation. We can walk through all these things. But by simply just telling that person to go take a bile salt is just like any modern doctor saying, or any influencer online, oh, you got an acid reflux problem? Here's your bile salts I can sell you. What is the underlying problem? Okay. Zolib says, my sister-in-law is a healthy eater, but when she eats certain foods, she gets severely bloated. Okay. What is your definition of a healthy eater? If she's having bloating, that tells me she's eating carbohydrates. She's eating plants. She is eating things that are being fermented in her stomach. So bacteria that she's growing in her bowels, in her stomach area, in her GI system, are fermenting. And that fermentation is causing her GI distress, which is bloating and belching and cramping and constipation and diarrhea and everything above. So it sounds like what you might consider a healthy eater is someone who's eating a bunch of plants, and her bacteria are doing exactly what they need to do. They are fermenting it because they can't consume everything. They don't have bacteria in our gut don't have cellulase enzyme, just like we don't have cellulase enzyme. So what your sister-in-law is eating, she's eating things that she can't break down. She is relying on her bacteria to break it down, and they're doing a very good job at it. And she's getting the symptoms of what they're doing, plain and simple. Angel says, you never mention pork. Is it not nutritious? It's cheap. Sorry, I didn't mention pork. I eat pork. I eat pork liver. I eat ground pork. I eat bacon. I do eat pork. Is it as nutritious as red ruminant meat? No. It is cheap. It's not quite as nutritious as red ruminant meat, but yeah, I eat pork, not every day. I would much rather get nutritionally dense food from eating ruminant red meat and eggs. But yeah, I eat sardines a couple times a week. I'll eat fish. I eat tuna. I'll eat salmon if somebody makes it for me. I will choose fatty fish over white fish just because I want if there is any essential fatty acids, I want to get them. But yeah. Ghetto, I'm 28, on and off prostate problems. Yeah, there's probably something going on. It would probably take a consult. I would meet with your doctor. Yeah, when the prostate is enlarged, you will get urinary retention and dribbling. So something is causing prostate problems. Some sort of inflammation is going on. Yeah, I agree, hunter gatherer. Just to ask Angel, Brian is saying pork is okay as long as the source is okay. So, eating grass-fed pork is in our best. But to get back to the prostate question, I would have somebody look into that really. Okay, you got to have somebody look into it. You don't want to have a cancer sitting in there. Sula is answering Angel and says that pork has nitrates. So I would ask Sula, why are nitrates bad? Why are nitrates bad? Are nitrates not nitrites? Aren't nitrites a form of nitric acid? Isn't nitric acid an antioxidant, so to speak? It helps neutralize reactive oxygen species. Doesn't nitric oxide get excreted from the endothelial cells of our arteries, causing vasodilatation and helping with high blood pressure? Sula, is it the nitrate that you're worried about? Or is it the other chemicals? Because in pork, you could get nitrite free. But is that really what you're worried about? Because I would tell you that if Sula is eating celery, they're probably getting more nitrates than anyone else who's eating pork. My thoughts on it. I agree, Brian. We just need to get the information out there. Oh, okay. Lucy, thank you for the clarification. But yes, she can email me, or he. I'm sorry, I didn't know if Diamond is male or female. But yeah, sign up for a consultation. I can go over things with you. Try Fitness says, I appreciate your passion and desire to speak truth. Thank you. Also, FYI, the try in my handle is referring to triathlon. Well, the iron in my handle is not iron men, women competitions, okay? Definitely not. My iron in my name is lifting weights. So that's where I got that. One of my dearest of friends that I haven't seen for years and years and years, doesn't make them not so dear anymore, but it's just that a friend came up with that handle back in the late or probably the mid 90s and called me that. So that's where my handle comes from. Yeah, James, I agree. Prostate problems could result from crapola foods. I'm trying to read the comments to find a question in here. If you have a question, please put a comment. Julie says, after losing a lot of weight, how can I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I agree, Brian. Okay, after losing a lot of weight, how can I slow and stop my hair loss? 7 pounds off of my goal weight, but I don't want to start thyroxine if it's my thyroid. Julie, are you telling me that you haven't checked your thyroid function? I'm guessing just because you have had weight loss, your thyroid is low. It doesn't mean that you have to start thyroxine or levothyroxine, T4, T3, synthetic thyroid medications. Okay, I'm not telling you that. But anytime we change our diet, we lose weight, it is a stress. And stress traumatizes our body. Even though you say, but this is great, I'm losing weight, should I stop the stress and then I gain the weight back? No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that you are finding out that by changing your diet, I'm guessing you've changed your diet, the hair and the nails are least in line for your body to protect. They are going to protect every other organ, like your heart and your brain. And as you're recuperating and your weight loss starts to level off, I'm guessing if you were to check, Julie, that your triglycerides are also elevated. That is common with weight loss. Even though you don't eat any carbs, maybe, your weight loss could cause high triglycerides because there's so much fat being broken down, fatty acids, and triglycerides are fatty acids attached to a glycerol molecule, or a glycerol backbone, I should say. So I want to encourage you, I know it doesn't make it any better, but the hair loss will stop as you find that you are eating nutritionally. And what I mean by that is you need to make sure that you are eating enough. You also need to make sure that you are getting enough fat. Julia, with you being, you just don't eat enough, and that is causing hair loss. So what you could do is increase the amount of food you're taking in. Maybe if your goal weight is 150 pounds, you want to, and you're exercising, you want to consume 150 grams of protein, whole food protein. And then you might want to consider 200 grams of fat. Then I think your hair loss will stop. Now, it takes months and months and months for hair to regrow, so you got to give it time. But I would check your thyroid to get a baseline, and then check it again in 3 months, 12 weeks, and find out if it's turning, it's changing. Also, make sure when you're checking your thyroid that you not just get a TSH. You want a free T3, a free T4, a TG, a TPO, a reverse T3, and your TSH. All of those need to be evaluated in order to make good decisions in regards to your thyroid health. Remember that T3 could be naturally lower on a carnivore diet. It's because there is no carbohydrates on board to metabolize. So T3 does not need to be as active in our bodies in a carnivore, okay? Good, very good question. It's very common, Julia. Very, very common. Oh, yeah. Brian brings up a great point that carnivore is improving hormones in both men and female, making females and males more fertile. And Brian knows many coaches who have encouraged changes of diet, increasing fat content, get rid of carbs, and then all of a sudden they get pregnant. I have heard Dr. Berry speak to this on many occasions that many of his clients who were infertile switched to a carnivore diet and had a baby right away. So it does make a difference. Thanks for that little bit of addition to my live stream today, Brian. I appreciate you being here. Oh, Roman, that's a great question, and I think it's a common myth. Roman asked, can eating cold cut meat can contribute to prostate cancer? I believe that deli meats have more chemicals in them for preservatives that could induce cancers anywhere, okay? It's processing, it's smoking, it's the fact that deli meats might be already oxidized or increase our risk of oxidation, causing reactive oxygen species. Then all of the antioxidants that we have in our body are being taken over. They're being used when they should be going and doing all other kinds of stuff. They're being used up for the things that we're eating to kind of, neutralize it. So do I recommend eating cold cuts? Not particularly. I suggest eating ruminant meats, fresh ruminant meat. If you want to eat them raw, eat them raw. If you want to cook them, okay? But yes, I can agree, Roman, that it's possible that eating anything processed could contribute to cancer, plain and simple. Okay, bye, Joe. Thanks for being here. Yep, I understood, Roman. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, thank you, Lucy. Please add a Q because it is hard for me to find the questions in here. Bobby says men are developing prostate issues in their 20s. I would ask Bobby, for the men that you are seeing, get an insulin level on them. Get an insulin level and determine if they have insulin resistance. Ask them if they're eating seed oils, if they're eating polyunsaturated seed oils. And seed oils are the big 8 are sunflower, safflower, soy, corn, canola, cottonseed, grapeseed, and rice bran. If they are eating foods or eating those oils directly or foods with them in it, then people are as set up for oxidation going on in their bodies in all cells. Could it be the prostate? That it's different in everybody. For Bobby and his buddies, it's prostate problems. It could be other things too, just saying. It could be some other chemicals that we put in our body besides just increased amounts of sugars and seed oils, right? Elizabeth asks, are there any foods you can suggest for improved liver function? Your liver is likely not functioning well because of the things that you're putting in your body. So I would suggest instead of adding that you subtract things that are causing liver dysfunction instead of adding stuff that would improve the function. So if things that decrease liver function are carbohydrates in excess that increase blood sugar, that increase insulin, that cause fatty accumulation on your liver and other organs, is causing the problem. And if you are eating processed foods with high amounts of iron, then I would suggest that you remove the things that's causing liver dysfunction and allow the liver to heal on its own. It is an organ in our body, one of the only ones that can regenerate. So you can get things back, but adding foods to an already damaged diet that's causing liver problems is not the answer. Mike, I'm sorry to hear that. Great question back, Lucy. I appreciate that. Bobby, we are told that what is carcinogenic? Oh, Hunter, or Brian, thank you. Brian says, it's my pleasure to be here. You're a shining light in the space. Having MDs jumping on board with our lifestyle is priceless. It gives so much more weight to the benefits of this. Yeah, I hear you, but I also need to tell you that I was once in the matrix. I mean, I knew better. And maybe I call myself lazy, I suppose. I just didn't give anybody else the benefit. I just figured the easiest, remember when I told you that we will gravitate toward easy and not hard, and we will gravitate away or turn away from things that are hard and painful. Well, teaching people about diet was hard and painful for me because in my mind, I felt like they could not do it. It was just too much for them. And so I likely gave up and moved toward easy and pleasurable. And that meant diagnosing you and giving you the medication that you needed without putting much else effort into it. And we all wake up. Sometimes, I guess maybe we all don't wake up, but I woke up. I can only speak for myself. I woke up and said, I don't want to live life like this anymore. I felt like I was living in a fake world where I couldn't really be myself. Even though I had my own practice, I was influenced by insurance companies and the board of medicine and all of that, okay? And so it's time for me to escape that matrix and to get real with people, even if I'm wrong. Even if I'm wrong, I got to accept that could be a painful truth, okay? At this moment, if you aren't subscribed, could you subscribe? If you find this information helpful, please hit the thumbs up button. I know but just hit the thumbs up. It helps me, helps the algorithm. It might help somebody else who has never, been on my live streams or saw any of my reels or videos. Please just, hit the like and the thumbs up and do the clickety clack. Share it to your favorite platform. If that's, Twitter, X, if it's YouTube, if it's Rumble, or if it's LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, just please share it. If you find that it's good, yeah, share it. Okay. Oh, Julia says, oh no, I love celery. Yeah, well, celery's full of nitrates, so it's probably got more in it than your bacon. I don't know that for sure. I just said that. I would have to look it up. Sorry. Okay. Oh, Diamond, I think we talked about this yesterday. You're battling Lyme. But again, Lyme is a bacteria, right? And what do bacteria eat? Bacteria eat iron, and bacteria eat sugar. Wildberry, I think Wildberry asked if I could do a tutorial on how to brush your teeth. I think we all struggle with this, but I would probably hit up a YouTube video. I don't think that you want me to teach you how to brush your teeth. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Mood Elevator. I appreciate you being here. Oh, here's a great question. I love this question. I don't know how to answer it, but I love this question. Can a type 1 diabetic be reversed? You have to know what type of type 1 diabetic you are, okay? And it's going to take some digging. If your pancreas beta cells have already bit the dust, that's in layman terms, it might be difficult to recoup any beta cells. And the beta cells are in your pancreas, and the beta cells in the pancreas produce insulin. So it is a possibility that your pancreas has bit the dust. However, what you can do for your type 1 diabetes is actually lower the amount of insulin you need in order to thrive and survive. And what I mean by that is don't consume foods that trigger the need for insulin. Insulin is just as inflammatory as glucose, as sugar. Sucrose, glucose, lactose, all the sugars, okay? Fructose. It is imperative that you use the least amount of insulin absolutely necessary, okay? Because people with diabetes, is the number one cause of a heart attack or a stroke is diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2. In a type 2, they have high blood sugars and they're hyperinsulinemic. In type 1, they have high blood sugars, they require insulin, and they take too much, causing themselves to be hyperinsulinemic. Both situations cause an inflammatory reaction. Both cause oxidation and reactive oxygen species. Both are very, very high risk of cardiovascular disease and dementia. So just like a not type 1 or not type 2 diabetic wants to keep their insulin level between 3 and 5, the same goes for a type 1 diabetic. If you're having to dose yourself with units upon units, 30, 40 units a day, you're only having to dose yourself with 30, 40 units a day because of what you eat. Once your body gets used to having a normal blood sugar of 80 to 100, you will realize that you are living in your dream of your doctor telling you to dose your insulin around what you eat. And that's exactly what a non-diabetic is doing. Their body is being their injector, and they're dosing insulin around what they eat until you or us, the non-diabetic, becomes insulin resistant. The cells will shut their doors and they say, we don't want any more energy, so no more glucose. And so what the non-diabetic body does, pancreas, produces more insulin. And what the type 1 does is inject more insulin. And it's going to take more and more insulin because the cells are going to be more and more resistant. They don't want any more energy. And you're just forcing it in there. You're trying to give more insulin to push sugar through a closed door. The insulin that you're giving is not talking to the cell receptor very well. So the next best thing that you can do is stop the trigger requiring more insulin. And that, my friends, is blood sugar, which is glucose, which is carbohydrates, which is a plant. So again, you can do whatever you would like, okay? I'm just giving information. So do with it that, what you would like to do. Brian says type 1 can be reduced. I agree it can be reduced. Hopefully I answered that question. I have some examples if you want it. DM. Okay, perfect description. Okay, great. Okay, so good. I think Brian and I are thinking on the same wavelength here. Okay. Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate that. Oh, some guy, do a reel of a verse from your favorite poem. Oh my gosh. I would have to go back to college, to literature. I never was big on poems, but my favorite poem, so to speak, I would tell you that it's Proverbs. It's many of the Proverbs. And I think the writers of Proverbs were writing poetry in motion. The Psalms were poetry in motion. When David was writing Psalms and Solomon writing Proverbs, it just makes you think about, I don't need an English lit or a class to tell me about the most important thing in my life, and that's the Bible and bending things back to the gospel. So when I have tried to, well, not tried, I don't want to use that word, when I have done reels on my favorite poems, my favorite Psalms, my favorite Proverbs, it got so much negative attention that it hit my failure button inside and I stopped doing it. I went away from hard and painful to joyful and easy. That's probably why. See, here I'm becoming vulnerable with you guys. Some guy, that's the answer. What kind of content do you make? I make health-related content with you guys. I also like to share my dogs with you guys. Patrice asks, are carnivore diets, smoked salmon, hard cheeses allowed? Nothing is not allowed. How about that? But the definition of a carnivore diet is animal-based, and it is moderate protein and high in fat, okay? That is the basic definition around most of the carnivore community. Now, is cheese animal-based? Absolutely. Is salmon animal-based? Absolutely. But you specifically mentioned smoked salmon. I would stay away from it because I think there's a lot of added chemicals. You mentioned hard cheeses. A lot of times hard cheeses are fermented, and we can react to fermentation. Some people can by having histamine reactions. So again, aged meats, aged cheeses, smoked salmon could all be problematic if it's for you. But Patrice, if you're doing well on a carnivore diet and you include smoked salmon, just be cautious of the chemicals. If you're doing well with hard cheeses and the fermentation, the agedness of a cheese like that, then you're not having problems, go for it. Is it okay to have milk, cheese, yogurt, butter? Sula asked if it's okay for you to have milk, cheese, yogurt, and butter. I stay away from milk. Milk has high amounts of lactose. Do I use cream? I do. So that is the alternative for me. Do I eat cheese? I do eat cheese. Do I eat yogurt? No. There's no real nutritional value for me, so there would be nothing I would use yogurt for. I don't need to put it in my coffee. I don't need to take a bite of it. If I'm gonna do anything that was along the lines of yogurt, I would do cottage cheese. Very similar concept, okay? Butter, absolutely, every single day, okay? Okay. James says, I've seen people, you consume a lot of sugar. Oh, who consume a lot of sugar, but no blood sugar? What's the reason? Oh, James, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. James, I appreciate the fact that you want your question answered immediately, but I'm reading through them. If you want your question answered immediately, please put it clearly in a super chat and I'll get to it immediately, okay? Thanks, Sula, I appreciate that. The night filler says, I feel foggy. I feel the urge to take a nap all day. No focus. I forget things. Eyes are heavy. Head is heavy all day. No motivation. Easily tired. Frustrated. My height is 170 centimeters and my weight is 85 kilos. What is happening? That's a lot of information, night filler. Sounds like you need to see your primary care physician. I would be happy to consult with you if you email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. And there is a fee for that, but if that's something that you would like to invest in, I'd be happy to schedule an appointment. Terry, can you suggest foods or supplements to reverse cataracts? I would remove the things that have caused the cataracts before I would add supplements or foods that help the cataracts after the fact. Can you reverse cataracts? Maybe, but I would take away everything that caused the cataracts in the first place. Julia, thank you. All I'm asking, just share it, click like, click subscribe. And the more you share it, the more people might see it. I do appreciate your kind words, Julia. Yep, agree, Lucy. I appreciate that. Patty asked, do you think hyperbaric oxygen, let me make sure I don't have anything over here. Do you think that hyperbaric oxygen could possibly wake up pancreatic cells in a type 1 diabetic? Good question. I don't know the answer. I just don't know. That's a good thought, though. It'd be something I could look into or want to look into, because right now modern medicine is looking into beta cell transplants, but then I think that you're looking at rejection, and then you're going to have to take a medication to avoid any immune rejection. So then you're in the same boat that you're taking a whole bunch of medications. So I don't know if hyperbaric oxygen, and I don't know the side effects of doing hyperbaric oxygen on a regular basis, or even once or twice. Overdoing something of something could cause the reverse of what you're trying to get the good effects from, if that makes sense. Quail eggs are really good for the eyes, says Sula. I would say quail eggs are really good for your whole body. Drums eats Swiss cheese and loves it. I like Swiss cheese too, but not as much as I love cheddar cheese. The night filler says, I feel like I might have thyroid problems, but don't know. The only way to know is to get it checked. Get a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, a TG, a TPO, and a reverse T3 to start out, okay? That will help. Yes, it is cold in my house. I like it cold, but I also like to wear a hat. I think I got that from my dad. And I love my dad, so thanks for commenting on my hat. This is the death, the burial, and the resurrection. Jesus died on a cross for us. He was buried, and 3 days later, he rose from the grave. I feel comfortable wearing that hat, and I appreciate that you commenting on it, because it gives me an opportunity to bend everything back to the gospel that I feel makes my life. I give glory, all the glory to God, all the glory to Jesus, and the Holy Spirit is guiding me. And he says, it's okay if you want to wear that hat and share my name. So thanks for asking about my hat, Anthony. That's very nice of you. Very kind. Hello, Jean. Thanks for being here. Oh, Sula asked, did you ever visit Ireland? And if so, what part did you like? I've never been there. Good morning, 1910. Yes, God bless you too. Well, it looks like we're out of questions, unless I missed some and you want to restate them. But I don't see any. I did have to skip to the end. So if you do have a question, we're here for you. I can, spend another 5 minutes or so if you have a question in regards to diet or exercise. Yeah, praise the Lord. I agree. Praise the Lord. Sula, thank you very much for being here as well. And I appreciate your questions. I know that it might sound like they test me here and there, but that testing is good for me. Yeah, it's always tempting for us, like I said, to shut people down. And I don't want to do that, even if you completely go against what I think is best for you. But when in the big scheme of things, what's good for you. You're the expert on your own body, and I'm not the expert on your body. I'm just trying to bring things to your attention that you might be even better expert at your body. How about that? Cozy says, is this channel your only occupation, or do you also work at some healthcare institute? Cozy, I closed my practice April of this year, April of 2025. I closed to only do work online. I do consultations, one-on-one, like a Zoom consultation, a video consultation with people who schedule those. I do not accept insurance. I accept credit card. Some people have paid me through PayPal, but Yes, I am a board certified family physician, and I have closed my physical practice and transitioned into all online consultation. I love this part of my occupation, as you call it. Yes, it's free for you guys to ask questions, but also I enjoy your support and hope that you will help me keep this channel going. If that includes super chats or super gifts or super whatevers or donations or thank you, Dr. J, that helps. That makes me doing this much more enjoyable, although I really do enjoy this. I enjoy this much more than I did toward the end of my physical practice. It got to be where it was more painful than it was joyful. Oh, Night Filler, thanks for sharing your story, or in regards to your religion as well as your Christian friends. It's nice to see. 1910 says, if you have enough body fat, can you fast and tap into that fat without losing muscle? Which will the body use? It will absolutely use the fat first. When the body goes into starvation mode, I mean, actual, not you feeling starved, not the word starved, but starvation, truly starvation mode would be you not only are not taking in any fat, but you have no fat left on your body, and it will definitely dig into muscle. It will destroy your muscle. But again, you've already experienced enough fasting that your fat is gone. You should be well aware that your muscle is next, okay? That was a good question. Try Fitness asks, in your experience, is it possible to reverse CKD, chronic kidney disease? Absolutely, absolutely, you can reverse it. And I have seen many people reverse it. And the commonality is anybody who stopped carbohydrates. I saw initially, and that's why I didn't check right away. Like, I'm not going to check in a month or 2 months. I'm going to wait 3 or 4 months, and I'm going to check your kidney function. And when people go without carbohydrates 30, 60, 90 days, and we recheck their EGFR and their cystatin C and maybe a microalbumin, because I don't know what level they're in CKD. Is it stage 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it 5? I like to stage the person so they know. And I like to get a microalbumin. So that's basically a urine where you pee into a cup, you get a spot albumin in your urine, or you can get a 24-hour urine for protein. You can get a cystatin C. It's a special lab you have to ask your physician for, and it will give a more accurate reading of your GFR. The GFR is glomerular filtration rate. It's your kidney's ability to filter things, okay? So yes, I have seen reversal of CKD in all stages, with one caveat. When I say all stages, do I have stage 4 and 5 CKD patients? I do not. I have stage 3A, I have stage 3B, but I have never, until Lucy, have seen anything lower, but she's not my patient. She's just somebody who told me her GFR is sitting at 15. I would like her to actually get a microalbumin, a urine test, and a cystatin C and determine the true accuracy. Is she spilling protein in her urine? Okay, that's very important to determine if she's got microalbumin in her urine. I would want to know, and I would want to know, try Fitness about your clients as well. You know, yes, it can be simplistically, yes, it can be reduced, but what are they doing? Okay, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks. Great questions too. So the simple answer is yes, but you have to get away from the things that are causing kidney disease. Maybe that person is drinking way too much water. Maybe they're drinking no water and they're drinking caffeine. Maybe they're eating sugar. I mean, the most common cause of chronic kidney disease is diabetes. So insulin resistance. So there's a lot of things to look into with CKD. Sula says, you are a very interesting and kind lady to share your knowledge. I worked in a pharmacy for years and felt so many people didn't need all the medications. You're absolutely right, Sula. They don't have deficiencies of medications. They have too many things going into their body that can be taken out and reverse some of their, the things going on. 1910 says night filer, or is it filler, night filler, night filer? Jesus is waiting for you, for you to seek him. I totally agree. That's beautiful. Jesus loves everybody. Jesus wants everybody to love him and accept him, and for him to save them. I mean, I'm sure 1910 believes that without Jesus, without the love of Jesus, without his salvation, we will not have eternal life. And, some religions do not believe that, but it doesn't stop 1910 and I from praying for everyone. Cami says, I'm type 1. However, when I do total carnivore, my blood sugar levels drop to what? And then I eat a carbohydrate and they kick back in. Well, of course they do, because that's what you're doing, the opposite of what you need to be doing. You're dosing your insulin around what you eat. If you go carnivore, you need to go slow, probably, okay? But you're not used to normal blood sugars. Normal blood sugars are maybe between 80 and 100. You're seeing them as too low, so you'll eat carbs, then you'll need more insulin. You'll drop your blood sugar, then you'll eat again. It's a vicious cycle. You're just not used to it, Cami. You're not used to eating a low carb diet. When we say giving carnivore a chance, that means 30, 90, 120. It means years of being completely carnivore, and that means no carbs. Your meat will supply you enough sugar. Your liver will supply you enough sugar. There's no difference between you and a non-diabetic when it comes to a carnivore. It's just that you actually have to be the injector of your insulin, and a non-diabetic has their pancreas beta cells still working. So there's really no difference. It's just that you've been taught that you need blood sugars 120, 130, 140, and if they're not, it scares you, and you're scared of having hypoglycemic episodes, but that's because you dose too much insulin. That causes the blood sugars to go down. So you likely need to back off a little bit on the insulin as you go carnivore. If you go carnivore, you don't need to dose yourself with as much insulin. And you might need to be your own pump. I'm guessing if you're a type 1, you have a pump on board, and it's signaling you because you've set the bells and the alarms to a certain standard, and when you go below, the alarms trigger your inner survival mechanism. Oh, I better eat carbs. And so it becomes a vicious cycle. And Cami, you can do this. It's just going to take you understanding, and I'm sure you probably had diabetes since age 13. I'm just guessing, but I don't know you, but most type 1 diabetics, and if you're a girl, probably find out around the age of 13. And, but yeah, you're just so used to being in crisis saving mode that you're afraid that if your blood sugars drop to 80, they might go to 70 and then 60. But they're only going to go that direction is because you have too much insulin on board. So maybe you need to tolerate at first dosing a little less insulin and allow your diet to take over. So if no carbs are coming in, less insulin is going to be needed, okay? Yeah, try fitness. If your client is at a CKD of stage 5, we're really, that person is really behind the 8 ball. That is a person who's probably on dialysis, but I truly believe that if they stopped the things that cause their chronic kidney disease, that they will get back some function. I truly, truly believe that. Okay. So yeah, I understand try fitness. I understand that you're asking for a friend or client. Thank you. Sula says, I love a bit of homemade brown bread with salted butter. Should I give up the bread? You should give up the bread, not because I want you to give up the bread, but because you want to give up the bread. If you're eating a bit of salted butter and bread once a month, maybe, Sula, that is okay for you. Okay? No one's telling you what to do. Is bread bad for you? How about this? There's no nutritional value in it. It can only lead to diabetes. Okay? Is it different in your country? Likely. It is not the United States, so you likely don't have as bad of bread as we have here, but it's still made from a plant. Okay? Yeah, she developed type 2 likely from her diet. Of course. I mean, that's what type 2 comes from. It's type 2 is otherwise known as intolerance to carbohydrates. That means carbohydrate toxicity. Remove the carbohydrates, the diabetes reverses, and the kidney function can come back. Where we play a fine line, Try Fitness, is that she's already at stage 5, and we don't want to overconsume water, because now the kidneys are going to have to work extra hard to try to concentrate her urine. You don't want to give her soda and caffeine, because that's going to cause the kidneys to release everything. So you got to play a tightrope line between her sodium and potassium and her magnesium and all of the electrolytes and all of that, okay? She's likely on medications that are disturbing all of this, because she's likely on diabetic medications. And so would this person be the person that you would put on some strict carnivore diet, like straight out of the chute? Likely not. But maybe you could convince her to get rid of all the sugars. And maybe she's looking at vegetables or other plants like that as her carbohydrate source. But cleaning up the diet, you can never, in all reality, she's stage 5. You can't go much lower than that, okay? So they're keeping her alive, or him alive, via dialysis, and that's going to be the life. But would you continue even on dialysis, destroying your kidneys? I would say no, but they might say, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy it. I don't really care. I'm going to die anyway. I'm going to die next week, so I'm going to live life to its fullest right now. Well, in my eyes, that is giving the middle finger to God, because God gave me this body, and I'm going to take care of it until the day I die. It's my temple. It houses my Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit in me. And so I can't think like that. I find it very hard to think like that, but I'm not inside your friend's body, okay? I can only speak for myself. Sula says, the smile on your face when you talk about Jesus makes me feel hopeful and happy and like turning back to him. You know what's great about that, Sula, is that Jesus is waiting for you to turn back around. We've all turned our back on Jesus, sorry, buddy. Talo's giving me the business here. Go lay down. Go lay down. Thank you. We've all turned our back on Jesus, and each time we go back, he accepts us, no questions asked. Just like the prodigal son, we've all been there, and we've all turned our back for seasons, and you're in a season. And you see my joy, because I know what it's like to be in a season and turn my back, be angry, be mad at him for something that he allowed to happen to teach me obedience. We've all been there. I think every Christian can probably say that. The alternative is something I don't even want to think about. I want to be with him, whether I'm mad at him or not. I want to be with him in eternity, forever and ever and ever, okay? I don't even want to risk the alternative of not being with him. So I don't go there. Does that mean that I'm not going to turn my back? He already knows that I'm probably going to turn my back. And it's for a season. That could be a minute. It could be a week. It could be 3 months. It could have been 2 years. Wherever you're at in your journey, Sula, he will take you back. You're like the one sheep. He leaves the 99 and comes for the one. And you're like that one. You're like that one. And there's many of you. You're where Jesus leaves the 99. Because he wants you found, and he wants you to find him. But he's not going to keep knocking on your door if you're not interested. It's kind of you. And I tell you that it's easy and joyful to go his direction, but there will be tribulations. There will be setbacks when people know that you start to turn back to Jesus. That's when things get harder for you, because Satan doesn't want to let go of you. Satan has his grip on you. The devil has his grip on you. And from his perspective, you're in the perfect position. The minute you start turning back to God, turning back to Jesus, you're going to find that things get really, really difficult. Because they're sitting at their coffee table talking about you, Sula. And they'll say, I don't like you talking to that or listening to that Dr. Jensen. She's a Jesus lover, and I need you away from her. They're sitting at the coffee having a conversation about you, Sula, and they're giving you little tickles in your ear saying, you don't need Dr. Jensen. You don't need Jesus. You don't need any of that. That's dumb. And that's how we get trapped. But again, there's nothing I can say that will convince Sula to turn to Jesus. You have to look at my life and say, hey, I want to be like her and be happy and joyful. And she loved Jesus, so maybe I'll give him a try. It's not because but again, here's where the problems arise is you could see me right now and you say, oh, you're so joyful. And then you see me at the grocery store tomorrow and you see me getting angry at the checkout lady for checking my thing out or scanning my thing twice. And you say that I blew my cover. And you say, ooh, I don't think that I want to be that. I mean, is that what a Christian's about? I don't think I'm going to go there. The thing that we fall victim to is we think that all Christians are perfect because they accepted Jesus into their life, and they're not perfect. In fact, it's the opposite. We're not perfect, or else we wouldn't need Jesus. So what I'm trying to tell you is the church that you went to was not a church of all these Hall of Fame Jesus people. There were not Hall of Fame people. It was sinners, just like you and I. You're a sinner, I'm a sinner, and that was a Hall of Fame of sinners that you were at, not the Hall of Famers of perfect people. That's why they continue to sin. They are not perfect. Not until the day we meet Jesus are we made perfect. He wants us to follow him, journey with him, and be as perfect as we possibly can with him, but he's going to help us do that. But if you think that you're going to be perfect before you leave this earth, impossible. Okay? But thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Janet asks, what are your feelings in regards to the safeness of drugs like Humira prescribed for ankylosing spondylitis? I would say that anytime you take an immunosuppressant, you are blocking your own immune system. So you're telling your body that you don't, I'll be right there, baby. You're telling yourself that God made a mistake and that you need to fix your immune system. You did not make a mistake. He did not make a mistake with your immune system. What happened is that you caused an inflammatory autoimmune disorder to occur in your body, okay? It might have been there and you fed it. So we unfeed it. Before I would try any of these medications, I would get rid of the alcohol and the smoking and the carbohydrates and the heavy metals and the no sun and the LED lights and the no exercise and the, I would get rid of all the negative people in my life, and that's what I would do. But as far as the safeness of Humira, who knows? I mean, it's a synthetic drug made in a lab by a man. I mean, do you want to take that risk? I mean, sometimes we have to, but sometimes we don't. I would exhaust all other options. This is not medical advice. This is just for information purposes only. I am not your doctor. You are not my patient. Diamond, if you have kidney issues, is decaf coffee any worse than regular coffee? I don't know, but it's probably not the caffeine. It might be other plant chemicals like the xanthines and the tannins and the phytates and the oxalates and everything else that's causing kidney disease, okay? So I don't know that switching to decaf is going to be any better. Oh, TriFit, that's good that she's not on dialysis yet. That's good news. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she needs to be on dialysis. PemD says, Dr. J has some good information on how fasting can help. I've tried it and it's been the only thing to help me lose weight since developing hypothyroidism. And I bet your hypothyroidism could be reversed too by fasting, by low carb dieting, by no carb dieting. Yeah, try fitness. It's the carbs that cause the diabetes. Diabetes is toxicity of carbohydrates, okay? Fly Guide, how can you believe in God when the world is an absolute mess? Because the world is man. God is God. And that's how I can believe in God. And my God has a big G, not a little g. So if I believe in a little g, that means I believe in myself as the maker of everything. All little G's are not big G's. And the world is a mess because this is Satan's world. This is not God's world until he comes back for us, okay? So yes, it's an absolute mess because we've allowed man, which is Satan's minions. I call, Satan, he has all these little minions in the world. And we have very few Christians who believe in big G God, okay? So Christians live in this world, but not of this world. Little G's live in this world and of this world. They worship Satan, or they worship not big G God. And so that's how I can believe in big G God and live in this world, but not of this world. It is an absolute mess. And one day it will be an absolute joy. And I look forward to that. Whether he takes me tomorrow or in 50 years from now, I'm looking forward to it. So that's how I can believe. And I think that any Christian, if they truly are a believer in Jesus Christ, they're scripturally based and they're believing the gospel, they will believe everything I just said, or they will echo everything I just said. And thank you for that question. And I will pray for you, Fly Guide, because Jesus loves you. And he wants you to live in this world because he's provided so many great things for us to look at and to experience. But he also cautions us to not live of this world. It's biblical. It's in the Bible, okay? I'm not speaking from Dr. Malea Jensen. I'm speaking from the Bible. Okay. You're welcome, Sula. Yeah, that would be fine, Try Fitness. I'd be happy to consult with her. Yep, just email me. Great. Thanks, Lucy. I appreciate your help. Yeah, Lucy, and there's so many testimonies too. Wouldn't you agree? For Sula, there are people who maybe didn't have Jesus in their life, and then they turned, and they said, I really want to have a relationship with Jesus. And once they did, things become so much more beautiful. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Lucy, that hearing people's testimony like that, it's amazing. Yeah, Sula, let us know how you're changing your diet. Yeah, Fly Guide, God did create man and the earth, but because we are fallen, because of the day in the garden, because we are fallen, that is what the Bible has been written about, okay? It's our guidance, it's our walkthrough. And if we were to read the Bible, if you were to read the Bible, Fly Guide, you would know just how beautiful all the teachings are and how loving God is. And it seems that when we don't know Jesus, all we think about is his wrath, when he would rather bless us and love us than to have us go through any wrath while we're here. Yes, there are going to be tribulations, but if we're honest with ourselves, those tribulations allow for our obedience, allow for teaching moments, just like your father, which is God, your earthly father, which is your dad, tried to teach you things. It's not much different. Most fathers, I want to say most because I know some of you listening right now say, you know what? I had a crapola father and I don't even want to think of him. And when I think about God, I think about the Father and it disgusts me. And I can see that. But you need to know that God did make your father in his image, but he is not God. He is a fallen soul. So if you have a poor relationship with the man in your life, the dad in your life, or other men or other Christians, that is not God. That is an image bearer of God, but that is not God. God is perfect and he loves you. He wouldn't want to hurt you. So yes, okay. James, that's an interesting take, and I would love to hear more about your experience spiritually, but maybe we can talk about it another time. Sound good? All right. Michelle asked, do you have a church or study on your own? I study on my own. I do not have a church. I used to have a church, but I found that that being around other image bearers and studiers of the gospel meant more to me than going to a church that gave me half truth. I'm not saying that all churches give me half truth, but I have many churches that I listen to, not many. I have about 4 churches I listen to online. If they were here, I would go to them, but they are not here. And that is a problem. But I talk to and have many people in my life that I have community with, and I watch my favorite churches online. Okay? Yeah, I agree. It's been very difficult for me to find a Bible teaching church, but I found 4 of them online that do perfect. And if you want to know more, just DM me and I can tell you which churches I listen to online. Okay, you guys. Yeah, I agree, Joey. You guys, we'll call it quits today, and we will be back, Lord willing, next Saturday at 9 a.m. Central, Sunday, 10 a.m. Central. Like, subscribe, please, if you found this stuff interesting and helpful. If you want to consider doing a PayPal donation, please consider it's in the description. If you want to help me out. If you don't, I understand, okay? Well, I don't understand, but I do understand, if that makes sense. So be back here next weekend, and I will try maybe to do just an impromptu, maybe during the week, we'll do a live stream and just see who joins, okay? But there's information to be shared, and you guys are soaking it up like sponges, and I appreciate that. So thanks again for being here. And as Lucy just said, God bless y'all, all right? So you guys have a beautiful Sunday. See